Yeah. So let's, okay, I think everybody's done now. I'm going to ask you now, where do you think your personal, and this is for you, where do you think your personal time starts? Is it start in the morning, the night, or the weekend? Where does this whole thing start? Which one of those three? We got night. I'm looking at chat now. So where does it start? Starts at night. Night. We got a couple nights here. We got night. Okay, everyone's saying night. Maybe I'm wrong. That's how this works sometimes. Update my notes for the next training. It starts at night. I'm not perfect. I'm listening to all you guys. Did every one of you say night here? Okay, we got a couple mornings. Oh, we got morning. Wow, look at that. Boom. Yeah. So for me, this is just for me. I thought when I went through this, and we don't train you on anything we haven't done, just to be clear. Like, this isn't what Google says, this is not what Chat GPT says. This is what I've actually done and how I think, which sometimes is right, sometimes it might not be right for you. But for me, everything starts on the weekends for me. And I'll share with you why here. It starts on the weekend. And the reason why is I pick one of the days, Saturday or Sundays, my 2 weekend days. I pick one of those 2 days to plan out my week. I always grabbed one of those 2 days. So to do that, I first started with, what day am I going to work on the weekend? I picked a day because I want to be in charge of what's happening. I want to be in control of my weekend. If I want to live a good personal life, I want to be in control of when I work. And so I want to pick one of those 2 days, Saturday or Sunday. Which one of these 2 days am I going to work? So Tracy says she plans out her week Monday morning. So she'll have to translate what I'm saying here, right? She'll have to translate. Say Austin might say he does it on Sunday. I do it Monday at 6. Perfect. You know, pick which one of those 2 days you want to work, Saturday or Sunday. Because if you don't pick, you know what will happen? You'll show houses on Saturday at 9 and 10, and then you'll show houses on Sunday at 1 and 2. Where you could have just figured out that this one day this week, that's the day I'm going to work. You know, my family, we might go to church on Sunday morning, and that's just not a great day for me to start my work. So I might pick Saturdays. I normally did. My personal schedule, I knew going ahead that Saturday would be my best day to work, unless my kids or there's some other event that week that I could look and say, hey, I'm out of town on Saturday. I'm out of town with my family. So Sunday will be my day that I work. And because I go to church and then I get back and we have a little time with the family, I'm not doing anything before noon. So Sunday between noon and 4 is my window to work. And I would have that planned, because here's what happens. This happens to us all the time. Is Lisa calls me up and she says, hi, Austin. Yeah, I saw a new house. I wanted to go see. It's Friday at 3 o'clock. Well, I'm free tomorrow. And I wanted to say, well, Lisa, I never asked when you were free. That's great. Well, I am free and I have availability on Sunday between noon and 4. And I want Lisa to fit into my weekend schedule compared to me fitting into hers. That's a huge piece that you guys all need to hear again. I want people to fit into my schedule compared to me fitting into theirs. If you can figure that out, life's a lot better. But to do that, that means you have to be ahead of them. Because when they say, hey, Corey, I'd like to see that house Saturday at 9, and you're like, oh, I never confirmed what I was going to do with my wife. Well, this is a $10,000 paycheck. I could really use the money. Okay, my wife will be fine, right? Like, that's what we think. And then years later, they're not fine. So we want to anticipate, when would we like to work on the weekend? Now, if you never fill it, congratulations. You don't have to, you're not working then. Maybe you'll do something else. But I started my weekend with saying, which one of these 2 days and then what time slots in the day am I going to work? So that way my work does not disrupt my personal life. I have to create what are called boundaries. Let's say that again. I want to make sure my work does not disrupt my personal life. That's key. Okay, the next thing is I want to make sure I use this weekend to invest time with my loved ones. Very important. Because during the weekdays, it might get a little tougher. So I want to make sure while I have a clean day that I make sure I invest the time with my loved ones. Whatever that means to you is whatever it means to you. But don't let the week go by without that. Put that in there. That's good personal stuff. You will never regret that. You might regret working every Sunday for the next 10 years. You'll regret that more than likely. You won't regret spending times with your loved ones. So make sure you have that in there. If my day is Saturday to work, when my kids were younger and they took naps, I remember nap time was like golden hour. Okay, if you had young kids at any time, you know what I'm talking about. The kids were taking a nap. I'd literally, if I was home, I'd unplug the doorbell. I didn't want no one to wake them up. Well, also when the kids took naps was a great time for dad to go work because mom was happy. So I need you to think through your life and what does my life hold for me right now? You might be in a season where you have young kids or you don't have kids at all, or what season are you in? And how do we make sure our business aligns with our life? On Sundays would be my day that I would schedule my next 2 weeks. I would look at it, see what's in there. Are my goals in my calendar? It'd only take me maybe a half hour to do this. And I would do it watching TV a lot of times with my kids right there. But I would take Sunday at home with my family and I would look at my calendar for the next 2 weeks. Once again, I'm trying to defend my life against my business. Now, when I say this, don't get me wrong. I ran a very big business when I sold real estate. And that was the goal. How do I defend my personal life so I can live a good life and run a big business? On Sundays, I would spend about a half hour and I'd look through my calendar. Are my goals in my calendar? Are my appointments in my calendar? I'd also look and figure out what nights am I working? I'll get to that here more in a little bit. But Sunday was my day to ensure that my week was balanced. Okay, some weeks might need me a little bit more. Some weeks might need me a little bit less. If I was throwing a big client event, does anybody shake your hands at me if you've had a client event lately? Has anyone had one? Okay, look, that's like half of you. Okay, congrats, by the way. Was it not great, Maria? Maria was like, ah. Here's what I can tell you. When you have a client event, it's a lot of work, right? Like you can anticipate it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work up front. And then I wanted to anticipate that it was going to be a lot of work on the back end because the follow-up was key. Okay, normally by then you're exhausted and your business is taken over and you let the follow-up go. When I'm sitting there on Sunday and I know I have a client event on Wednesday, you know what I'm doing? I'm blocking out my Thursday and Friday to ensure I have enough time to follow up with my people. Because if not, you're just shitting away your time and your money. I'm sorry, you are. And I want you to help squeeze that time and money out of everything you do. So Sunday, half hour for me to plan my next couple weeks. What's happening with my family? What's happening in my business? Just make sure my calendar's good. The next thing I do on the weekends is I keep my wife happy. So I have the maintenance honey-do list. Because I'm not doing this stuff during the week. Does anybody raise your hand if you know why I'm not doing this during the week? Alfredo?
Because you're focused on doing your business.
I am. Because I'm focused. And when you're focused, you don't have all this time to do all these other things. It's all about focus, everybody. It's about focus. Alfredo, that was like the perfect answer. Because when I'm working, I'm working. The problem is a lot of us, here's the reality. A lot of us aren't focused, and our work bleeds into our personal, and our personal bleeds into our work, and then we do everything average. That's the problem. And you're doing it with great intentions, but you're doing a really crappy job at really focusing and saying, hey, on the weekend, I got to make sure that if I don't fix that plumbing leak, that it's going to cause a bigger issue. That's when I'm going to fix it on my day off. Because now I can have my focus to do it. The last thing I want to do is have to do it Tuesday at 2. Right? Because I'm supposed to be here at 2 Easterns when I'm supposed to be here, not at my house. So I'm doing my maintenance on my home. I'm doing maintenance on my car. We also have rest week. For those of you guys who know what rest week is, we also have rest week built in to help with this. Okay. I'm not talking about rest week right now. I'm just talking about your weekend. Next thing for me on the weekend, my hobbies, my fun activities, or anything I personally like to do, that's got to get fit in there. I'm not saying you can't have some fun during the weekday, but when you're really getting focused and it's time to have, we're done with our work and now we're coming back on the evening and it's time to invest time with our family and or work. It's not time for you to go play volleyball by yourself. Like that's your family time. Right. So on Saturday or Sunday, this is when I'm getting this stuff out. And the last one here is my think time. It's really hard for you as an entrepreneur to have good time to think when you're working and when you're stressed out. You can't get it. And I talk to a lot of you, I coach a lot of you. Here's what I can tell you. You're like 2 hours away a week from getting closer to figuring it out. It's like you have two puzzle pieces that can go together, but you can't figure out how to put them together because you're moving so fast. And if you could just slow down a little bit, you can think to say, how does this thing here align with this? Here, I'll give you an example. How does this buyer that's a pain in my ass align with this listing that I just put on the market? Right? You guys, now you're getting me. You ever sell one of your own properties? You're like, I never even thought about them buying that. It's because you didn't slow down and think enough. You didn't think about, am I rested? Are my batteries recharged? What needs to be done? When's the last time I looked at my financials? Lisa, how many minutes a day did I tell you to look at your financials? Where are you at, Miss Lisa?
15 minutes a day.
15 minutes a day. And how long on Friday?
Hour.
1 hour on Friday. 15 minutes a day and 1 hour on Friday. But to figure that out, you got to slow down a little bit and think. And you can't have good thoughts when you're running really, really fast. I was just in Canada last week. Some of you guys saw, I was in Canada. I get a lot of good thinking time in Canada because I'm not running fast. And I get to figure out how I can put all these things together. It's like, oh shit, it's there the whole time. I just can't slow down enough to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So next thing you know, we run 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And the only thing we have is all these puzzle pieces and it's a mess and nothing got together. And if you don't believe me, if you're on year 1 or 2, go ask someone who's been around for 20, 30 years. It happens and it's going to happen quickly. Some of you are smirking right now. You know what I'm talking about. It's like, man, how did that decade just fly by? I thought I would be a little further by now. Well, we got to slow down. We got to think about it. So that's my weekend. Let me recap this here again. 1, on my weekends, I pick which day to work. I'm literally picking it. Which one of these days is best for me to work? I'm not saying I have appointments. What I'm saying is me and my wife have an agreement on Saturday from 12 to 4 that Austin can go show houses, go list houses, go do whatever he needs to do. She's fine with it. I'm fine with it. Maybe it happens. Maybe it doesn't. But it's not Sunday at 6. It's not Saturday at 8 or Sunday at 9 a.m. It's not what it is. I'm not saying there's not exceptions to the rules every once in a while. What I'm trying to help you do is to create a rule. That's it. Create a boundary. You want to live a great personal life, you need more boundaries for your business. Second, invest time with your loved ones. That should seem easy, but you got to invest some time with your loved ones. Schedule your next 2 weeks out on that day, one of those 2 days. How do you look a little further out? Make sure the things are in your calendar. Maintenance and honey-do items. Okay, what are those things that you need to maintain on the weekend? Have some fun, get into your hobbies a little bit. And the last, give yourself some thinking time. Give yourself some thinking time.